Hi. Let's do Tuesday tea with Kim. It's been a little while. I've been so inconsistent. I've just been working, trying to develop new offers for people because there's really a need out there for it. There's a lot of people that are looking for functional medicine, and if I don't already have something that works for someone, I'm trying to create something that not only works for that person. I don't do one-offs. Like I don't do, we're going to figure it out for you. We're going to give you this. We're going to give you this. I don't do that just because I really do have a way that I actually treat people, a way that I feel like gives us the best results, but I am a problem solver. So anyway, that's why I've been inconsistent. No, it's no excuse other than the fact that I just need to prioritize this more, especially on certain things like this that keep showing up over and over and over again. Just remember that if there's ever anything that you have a specific question about, feel free to hop in here and say, hey, I want you to do a deep dive on this. I want you to really explain this. Because if you have a question about it, someone else probably does too. And a lot of times when I do these, I feel like I say the same things over and over and over again, but it's the same stuff that keeps showing up time and time again, which is why, we keep talking about it. But yesterday I had the pleasure of explaining someone's hair tissue mineral analysis results to them. And this was after we had done I had already gone over their labs with them. So this was like the next step because there were a lot of things that I thought we could explain a little bit more by looking at the minerals in her hair. And so we got those results back, and she just kept, like, when I was telling her, she's just like shaking her head like she couldn't believe how freaking accurate it was. And just the fact that we were able to give her such good information about why she's been experiencing what she's been experiencing, why what she's been doing hasn't really been working. And so it gave me the idea that that's probably something that I needed to share with you. And so I have notes, that if I don't write notes, I'm going to tell you half. And then afterwards, I'm going to be like, dang it, I wanted to say that, but I got off on some tangent. So I really want to talk about detox because honestly, how I help people is that we start in the gut. But detox is a part of gut health. Detoxing, like what you're eating, like removing some things is part of how I am able to get good results for people. But detox is part of what your liver does, which is part of your gut system. Detox is also part of hormone balance, and that's the second thing that we usually work on is balancing, optimizing those hormones. And detox is a part of that because hormone is about balance. It's not about a specific level of hormones. It's about how they're balanced with each other. And hormones are made from minerals. So, we need those building blocks in order to build the hormones. And then we also need to be able to detox those hormones in order to keep them in good balance. And then the last step of this, which is really how well our body detoxes, is about how our body is able to make energy for the cells so that the cells are able to do the work that they do. And, every cellular function that we have, our body produces waste products from that, and we have to be able to recycle those or to eliminate those. And that is detox. So when I say that detox is kind of the limiting factor in how people are able to get results, or usually the thing that we have to back up and do a little bit more in order to get that, 80%, 90%, or even higher percent answer for you, it always comes down to detox. And this is why. So I wanted to explain that. And I want to tell you what detox is, what detox isn't. So you've probably been told to cut sugar. You've been told to eat clean. You might have even done a detox, like a cleanse, a tea, a 7-day reset. And if you're in my Facebook group, we did that. We actually did a 7-day detox. But and you probably felt better, but for a little while. And then all the symptoms that you were having came back, the fatigue, the bloat, the brain fog, the stubborn weight. And you probably wondered, like, what am I missing? But here's the thing. You're not doing anything wrong. You've just been given incomplete information about what detox is. And so I want to share with you exactly what it is so that there's no question. Okay, so most people think that detox is about cutting things out. Sugar, alcohol, processed foods. Yes, it is. That's part of it. But detox isn't just about what you remove. It's actually about what your body's able to process. And that process, all of those processes run on minerals. Even just being alive, breathing, digesting, creating energy produces waste, like I said, that the body has to clear. And when you layer on everything that you're exposed to, everything in your food, everything in your air, everything in your water, all your cleaning supplies, all the fragrances, all the skincare, all the self-care, there's a lot to detox, right? And so that system can get overwhelmed really quickly. So detox isn't something that your body does once in a while. It's doing it all day, every day, but especially at night. That's when detox really works. And minerals are what makes that possible. So I want to talk through a couple of the key ones because, I did a genetic test that said that I'm not a good detoxer. And I would have brain fog. I had a lot of skin issues. I had trouble sleeping. Like I had a lot of little things that could have pointed to detox. And so when I did the genetic test, I just believed it. I was like, my body just isn't able to detox. But then when I did my hair tissue mineral analysis and I realized the things that I was actually deficient in and I've replenished them, all of that, I've actually been able to make huge headway in my body's ability to detox. So genetics is part of it. You can be predisposed to sort of having sluggish pathways. That just means that mineral balancing is even more important for you because you don't have everything that maybe someone else would starting out. So the building blocks, the support that you're providing for your detox is actually even more important. So let's talk about magnesium. This is the engine starter for detox. It's involved in over 800 enzyme reactions. We used to say that it was 300 enzyme reactions, but we found out that it literally is involved with everything. Everything from liver detox to energy production, muscle relaxation, all of it depends on magnesium. And low magnesium is one of the biggest reasons that people get constipated. And constipated is one of the fastest ways to back up detox. And the reason being is that your liver processes toxins and then it packages them up and it puts them out in the bile. Sorry, someone called. It puts them out in the bile, and then your body is going to eliminate that in the stool. But if you're not pooping, then your colon actually reabsorbs those toxins out of the stool the longer that it sits there, and it sends it back to the liver for recycling. So it has to detox them again. It has to neutralize them again. It has to repackage them up again, and it has to send them out again. And that can happen over and over and over again. So that can actually cause a buildup of toxins, even though your liver is functioning appropriately. It's really trying to get that out of there, but you're not doing that final step of that, which is elimination. Because if that waste can't leave, your body just reabsorbs it over and over and over again. Stress, caffeine, sugar, all burn through magnesium like crazy. So most people are running low without realizing it. And for all of you who have been told that your cholesterol is a problem for your cardiovascular risk, let me just tell you, magnesium deficiency causes more sudden cardiac deaths than cholesterol ever thought about being implicated in. So many times they find that people who just suddenly die from cardiac disease or from an MI have very low tissue magnesium levels. And checking your blood, if it's low in your blood, it is exponentially low in your tissues because minerals actually live in the tissues, not in the blood. They're only being transported in the blood. So That's something to keep in mind. So calcium. Now calcium is interesting. We need it for structure and signaling, but too much and in the wrong place creates problems. That's probably why you've been told to take, when you take D3, to take it with K2, because potassium or K2 actually directs the calcium into the bones and into the teeth rather than leaving it in the soft tissues like the blood vessels and causing hardening of the arteries, which can lead to cardiovascular disease, and it can lead to high blood pressure. But calcium, when it builds up in the tissues, it can actually cause, it's on the outside of the cell, it's on the cell membrane, and it can cause that cell membrane to become very rigid. And that causes a lot of problems. Our hormone receptor sites live on the membrane, and a lot of things moving into the cell or moving out of the cell really rely on that cellular membrane to be fluid and to be structurally sound, but actually fluid, so that things, so that it's adaptable and things can actually get through there. When you have high calcium levels, then it blocks that, and you can have enough. Say magnesium, for example. Magnesium is an intracellular mineral, but if you have a high calcium level, calcium can actually keep magnesium out of the cell and can cause problems for you. But even though you have enough actually in your body, it's just not in the right place in your body. So calcium builds up in tissues, and it can form what we call a calcium shell on the outside of the cell. And that makes it stiff. It blocks communication. Minerals can't get in. Toxins can't get out. So that's going to limit your detox capacity if you have high cholesterol or if you have high calcium. So even if your blood calcium looks fine, your cells can still be locked down, and detox really slows to a crawl. Everything is just sequestered inside of your cells. So your liver might be efficient at detoxing, but it's never getting what it needs to detox because it's locked inside of the cell. For those people who tend to hold on to a lot of their emotions as well, we find that they have high calcium levels because calcium can actually lock in emotions in the cell. I know that's some woo-woo stuff, right? Sodium. Sodium is your movement mineral. It opens up those little channels on the cell membrane so things can get in and out of the cell. Short bursts of stress can push sodium up. So if you're in that fight or flight, you can have your mineral content in your hair can actually show that you have high sodium. But if you've gone beyond that and you've actually just burned through all of your stress, your cortisol and norepinephrine and all of that because you've had such prolonged stress, then your sodium levels can actually be low. And that's kind of like your tongue hanging out, that you're just depleted. Your adrenal glands are depleted. You really don't have the energy to respond to a lot of things. And so sodium is actually super important, and that's why it's important in detox, because it actually opens those channels that allows things to get in the cell to cause cellular communication inside of the cell. Again, it's also a way for waste products and toxins to be removed from the cell. You can see things like, low blood pressure, salt cravings, dizziness when you stand up, all signs that you might have an issue with your sodium and things moving around from the outside to the inside of the cell and vice versa because of sodium. Phosphorus is the ATP, it's the P of the ATP. So that's energy that your cells make all day long, and we need a fuel source to fuel what we're doing as far as detox goes. Molybdenum is something that you might not have ever heard of, but it's super important. It helps your body break down sulfites. If you're someone who drinks wine that has sulfites in it and you have a headache or you feel really hungover the next day or you just don't feel good the next day, you may be low in molybdenum, and that's actually causing your body to hang on to those toxins and not be able to neutralize them as effectively. It also breaks down histamine. So if you're someone who tends to be, kind of prickly skin, or you have a lot of food allergies, you may have a deficiency in molybdenum. And all of these chemical byproducts, especially histamine, can hang around. Your body has to neutralize that, has to package it up, and has to send it out. But it's not able to do that if you're low in molybdenum. And it's really one of the first minerals that I look at on an HTMA for those people who are super sensitive to smells or to chemicals. I had a client once that said that she really wasn't allergic, but she just did not do well with a lot of smells. Like, it really bothered her. And sometimes it affected her mood because of those smells. Manganese is one of those it's a supportive antioxidant, and it helps to protect your mitochondria. So, remember, your mitochondria are just your energy factories, and they're doing a lot of hard work to detox in your liver. Every type of cell has different amounts of mitochondria in each cell, and your liver cells have thousands of mitochondria in each cell. So, making sure that they are protected, that they're able to produce energy in order to do the detox is super important. So too little manganese and you can have inflammation, or you can have trouble calming that inflammation down with just standard things that you do. And too much and you get brain fog, you get thyroid issues. That's why balance matters, not just a single number on a page. Then there's copper and zinc, and these two are thought of as partners because they vie for the same receptor site. So I know a lot of times you've been told to supplement zinc, especially now that we're kind of in the fall and we're coming on, cold and flu season, and, people are supplementing zinc, but they're not supplementing copper. And you really should, because they vie for the same receptor site. So if you're supplementing zinc and you're not supplementing copper, and you can get that in a combination, the amount should be 15-1. So 15 parts zinc, 1 part copper, that you are flooding those receptor sites with the zinc, and then copper, you can become copper deficient that way if you're not replenishing that. So that's why you want to have it in that particular ratio. So they have to stay balanced. Copper helps with phase 1 liver detox, and that's really neutralizing or adding a water molecule to these toxic elements in order to help to break them down, help to neutralize them. Copper also helps with makes neurotransmitters like dopamine. And both deficiency and toxicity are common. Copper builds up from birth controls, copper IUDs, chronic stress, having a vegan or a vegetarian diet. And when it's too high, it drives anxiety, mood swings, PMS, even estrogen dominance. If copper's high, zinc will be low, because remember, they compete for the same receptor sites. So you can have the exact opposite of what I said originally about the zinc. So if you have plenty of zinc in your body, you could have plenty of zinc in your body, but it can't get to where it needs to go, and your immunity suffers because of that. That's what we call a relative deficiency, meaning that you have enough in your body, but it's out of balance with its competing mineral, or it can't get to the right place in your body. So when copper dominates, zinc and iron absorption tank, and that's why so many women show up with anemia that doesn't respond to iron supplementation, because it's not really an iron deficiency. It's just that iron can't get to where it needs to go, and so it's really a copper dominance. When we fix that, the whole picture changes. We can fix anemia pretty easily. And you've probably never had a test that looked at copper. So cobalt is another one that's really important in detox. And that is what cobalt actually makes your vitamin B12. So cobalt is the core of B12, and it's also what helps your cells carry B12 is what helps your cells carry and use oxygen. It's a part of methylation. It's one of those main detox pathways. So if cobalt is low, B12 can't be produced properly. So if you feel tired, lightheaded, out of breath, brain fog, you can't just push detox without oxygen and energy. And this is one of the things that is often pointed to when I look at lab reviews and I see your differential, and it shows that you have a macrocytic anemia, which just means that you have large red blood cells. Or if you have red blood cells that aren't uniform in size, so some are big, some are small. I like to tell people that your red blood cells should really look like siblings instead of cousins. And if they start looking like cousins, they kind of look all the same, but some are big, some are small, then you may have a B12 deficiency. And B12 is one of those things that really energizes us. It really helps with methylation. It helps our detox, a lot of our detox pathways. So now I want to talk about this part that's really, important. It's not about one mineral at a time. It's not that simple. The minerals actually affect each other. And I think we saw that when we were talking about copper and iron, when we were talking about copper and zinc. But it's not just those, it's all of them. They all can either synergistically affect each other or they can compete with each other. And so it's not just, do I have enough copper in my body? It's how is it balanced with zinc? How is it balanced with iron? Those sorts of things. So you can have plenty in your body, but it can't get into the cell. So just having it in your body is not doing any good. And that's why detox isn't about just excess or deficiency. It's about how the minerals interact. Calcium might be blocking magnesium. Copper might be pushing out zinc. Low sodium might be closing the channels that are supposed to keep everything moving. And remember, magnesium doesn't just affect magnesium. When magnesium drops, it changes how vitamin D behaves. So, which changes how calcium and phosphorus behave. So sometimes, depending on your mineral deficiency, we're always pushing, take vitamin D. It's good for your immunity. It's good for your gut health. But for some people with certain mineral deficiencies, we say, hold off on the vitamin D for a little while because you're actually making that imbalance worse. Hold on, I have a dog that might be chewing something here. Okay, I don't think she was, but she is a chewer, So it's not about just chasing one deficiency. It's really about understanding how the whole mineral picture and coming up with a plan. And sometimes, that plan is that we replenish minerals, but we do it in a very strategic way. We don't replenish all of them at once because that is counterintuitive. It sort of inhibits what we're really trying to do. We have we kind of triage. We do a mineral triage and we figure out the ones that are most important, the ones that affect other things. And so those are the ones that we go to first, which is also why for those people that I recommend mineral testing for, that I also recommend a very customized mineral blend rather than you trying to take calcium and potassium and, figuring all of that out. There really is kind of a triage order that you have to go in. So, customizing that mineral blend is something that I often do, but it's also why I recommend that we retest your minerals because we're going to work on the most important ones, kind of tier 1, and then we're going to retest and see where we are. And then we triage again and we sort of say which ones are most important now. Making those small corrections as we go along because that's the most efficient way because it's not just about replenishing if your calcium is low. It's about getting your calcium in the right balance with other minerals that allow those other minerals to actually get inside the cell or toxins to get out of the cell. So you can see how it all plays together. This is why, like I said, I use hair tissue mineral analysis because blood tells you what's circulating right now, but hair tells you what's been happening in your tissues, which is where your minerals live. And it's about, it tells us about how your body's. Detox over time. It tells us about blood sugar balancing. It tells us about thyroid. It really gives us a big indication of exactly how your body is functioning on the inside, and where, if you have symptoms that seem unrelated, they might be related because it's the same mineral that's causing problems in several different areas. So once we see that, we can rebuild intelligently. We don't have to guess, especially with minerals. You don't want to guess, because replenishing one, like if you're just chasing one thing, and you don't know what your molybdenum level is or how that affects your calcium, then you can actually be making some things that are downstream of that a whole lot worse. So if you've been doing all the things, eating clean, cutting sugar, taking supplements, you still feel stuck, this might be why. You might be throwing spaghetti at the wall, but you're actually making some of the deficiencies and some of the imbalances that you have worse. So you haven't been given the full picture. When we restore mineral balance, your body starts working with you again. Energy goes up, hormones level out, digestion improves, detox finally starts to move. Even if you're someone who doesn't detox well based on your genes, really genes are kind of potential. And what you do with that, like replenishing your minerals, can make all the difference in the world. My body is acting a whole lot more like a normal body, not one that doesn't detox well, now that I have started to replenish my minerals. Like, it's night and day what I've experienced. So if you're ready to see what's actually happening in your cells, I do recommend that we start with a hair tissue mineral analysis. Sometimes we start with just a review of labs that you've had done, and I can tell you more definitely whether I would point you in the direction of mineral testing, but there's not really been a situation or a client that's come to me that I haven't said, oh, we definitely need to check your minerals, because it gives us answers. And that's whether you're coming to me with gut issues, because, zinc is part of gut healing. Vitamin D is part of your immune system and gut healing. Calcium, magnesium, like all of those things are important to the gut. And, or whether you come to me and you say, my hormones are out of whack, or my neurotransmitters are out of whack. I have a client that has trichotillomania. And so a lot of times that is a dopamine issue. And, we have to look at manganese, and we have to look at molybdenum to really hone in on what we can do about that dopamine. We can't change your genes, but we can give you the building blocks for all the things that are actually going to make your genetic profile work for you instead of against you. So if you're interested in what your minerals might be saying about you, or how they might be affecting your detox, or how they might be influencing what you're building as far as neurotransmitters and hormones and that sort of thing, or how they're affecting your ability to lose weight because you're not able to get those messages into the cell, then I want you to either reach out to me personally or just type HTMA in the comments, and I will get some information your way.